That is the way to go. Instant death. Very smart.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Priority Holder. And today we'll be playing Jund Grave Thud in the Explorer format. Now, I just love graveyard decks. I play them in all formats, all times. Almost all my decks have a graveyard component to them. And I've played a deck similar to this called Jundergrowth that focuses on Fiend Artisan, Urborg Lhurgoyf, and just self-milling a ton of creatures. But this deck sort of takes it into a different dimension and adds sort of an explosive component to it with Thud. Because we get these really high power creatures, sometimes can't smash through for the last bits of damage, and this allows us just to fling it directly at the opponent's face. And it can allow for much faster kills at the cost of having fewer creatures in the deck. So there is a bit of a trade-off, but it's a really sort of interesting spin on like the typical throw tons of creatures in your graveyard strategy. Now, what the rest of the deck is a bunch of enablers: Stitcher Supplier, Gnawing Vermin, Satyr Wayfinder, Blanchwood Prowler to mill us and maybe get some value along the way. Another thing that's in like the sort of threat category is Kraul Harpooner. This just gets a temporary boost from the graveyard thanks to Undergrowth, but it can be sort of more explosive when paired with Thud. It can launch even more damage for a surprise. And the other sort of secret component of this deck that does really good work is Claim to Fame. Now, Claim reanimates any of our creatures in the whole deck, most notably our threats, and Fame is another useful thing to put in our graveyard when we're milling ourselves, because it can pump the creature by 2 power and give it haste, allowing for even more explosive, shocking turns. Like if we just lead with the Stitcher Supplier, throw a Fame into the graveyard, maybe we could just haste out a Fiend Artisan for the kill right there, especially if you can pair that with a Thud. So really, really explosive, fun, wild deck, and you could really take your opponents by surprise. So I'm excited to jump to some games. Alright, this seems like a pretty good hand. We have a good mixture of enablers and payoffs. Definitely going to lead with Stitcher Supplier. Start juicing up our graveyard. Still don't know what our opponent's doing. Alright, blue-black with open mana. It makes me think rogues, but we're going to have to see what happens. Might as well chip in for some damage. Now I'm going to play Fiend Artisan here, and yeah, we've just set ourselves up for drawing the lock. So that's unfortunate, but you know, that's what their plan of milling us is going to be helpful in the long term. Opponent plays Kaito Shizuki, then it phases out. So it is annoying that our Fiend Artisan got back there. Maybe it would have been better to play Blanchwood, I don't know. But I wanted to get the attacker out and then turn 3 charge it up some more, but just didn't work out. Got plenty of lands though. And yeah, just going to chip in for some more damage. The creature's unblockable and they're going to want to attack anyway with to trigger Kaito's to enhance Kaito's +1. There it is. So now Kaito is effectively just like a Phyrexian arena for them. And they pass it with open mana. We draw some more. Nothing. We're going to attempt to take down Kaito. Alright, Fatal Push. Sure, that's like a very low priority creature and juices up our graveyard. Alright, so Kaito survives, which is unfortunate. But it seems like a really good time to play to cycle Takenuma, or sorry, to channel it. That's going to allow us to get back a Fiend Artisan, uncounterable unless they have a stifle effect. It is worrisome that they're able to just keep getting cards every turn with Kaito, so we're going to have to deal with that at some point. Yeah, end of turn, channel Takenuma. Let's get ourselves a Fiend Artisan. Takenuma is just really strong, and it works so perfect in this deck's game plan. There is an argument for being more conservative with the colors to be able to play more Takenumas. So, but we're going 3 colors. We need all the tri-lands and stuff we can get. And decide just to, you know, after seeing that one resolve, go ahead and claim the next Fiend Artisan. Just get 2 of them in play. Opponent has another Fatal Push. That's why we went ahead and claimed the other one right away. Alright, so we still got a 7/7 to play successfully. And it's dead. That's okay though. We love the graveyard, and they won't be there for long, or they'll just juice up something else. Now this is great. They're firing up Hive the Eye Tyrant. This seems like an excellent Necrotic Wound target. It's just going to be difficult to deal with. It's going to eat up our graveyard. Goodbye Hive of the Eye Tyrant from the opponent. But they're able to still profitably use the black mana before it dies. And Kaito is still just giving him so many cards. That is an incredible draw right there. And this, yeah, you could see the power of things like Fame, giving instant haste. I decided I've had enough of Kaito, and so fire up my own Hive to take it down. Get to exile something, doesn't seem like it's going to matter. But Urborg Lhurgoyf was an excellent draw. And there's a reason we also didn't cycle the Proving Grounds, because we did not have a red source yet, so we had to hold on to that. And then, of course, they've drawn so many cards that they have another Kaito, so
Hope you're ready for some magic.
that is unfortunate, because they're just going to keep getting cards like crazy. Now, I'm not so concerned about the damage, but I want to juice up the graveyard anymore. And there we go, Kroxa. That's the, like, backbreaker in this matchup.
Now this.
It just overtaxes their resources, so I feel a lot safer now that I have a Kroxa in the graveyard. We will need another red source, but that is like a good weapon against these decks. Fought them many times before. So we're going to kick Urborg Lhurgoyf once. Currently at 12-13, we'll see what we can get it to. Up to 14. And so now it's pretty tempting just to use Fame. Juice it up to 16 power. So here's the it's like, okay, what can you do about it? Alright, opponent has Soaring Thought Thief. So they're forced to chump right here. It's like a panic chump block from them. And the reason I was sort of so cavalier about just going for it is because of the Kroxas in the graveyard. I know long term we got a good backup plan. Alright, so they're still able to get their attack in, but they leave their Death Toucher back. Opponent has drawn an extra card basically every turn of the game, so that is a little concerning. Now I'm feeling really good now that we have our second red source. We're just going to go for it again. Now we know the attack won't work, but decide just to YOLO and fire off Thud right here, X equals 16. And like I said, the reason I'm so cavalier about that is because the Kroxas. Like, I know we're going to give them problems later. And opponent doesn't have anything for it, so we're just going to Thud them for 16 for the win. It's a beautiful, beautiful sight. And as we move to the next game, be sure to Abotion, Cephalid Emperor that like button, comment, and subscribe. It supports the channel and helps you know what the people want. Thank you. And we snap off this hand. Yeah, go ahead and play that as a red source. Let's see, Thoughtseize from the opponent. That is tough because, yeah, that Blanchwood Prowler was really sort of bringing our hand together, so it's a little unfortunate. I decided it was actually so important just to get the train going that I just go ahead and claim it right here. We want to just fill up our graveyard, get some more lands, and I don't know if that was a little too aggro. Maybe we should just play Kraul Harpooner and started smashing them. It's hard to say. Elderfang Disciple. Okay, so we're just going to pitch a land here. Deciding between Blood Crypt and Proving Grounds. We don't have many green sources, so go ahead and keep the Proving Ground. Fire off Kroxa. Opponent pitches land, play Proving Ground. Wait to see what they're doing. An opponent ends up timing out there. I'm not sure what happened, if their internet connection dropped or something. But unfortunately, we just can't really punish them. Like, their Thoughtseize just sort of nerfed our game plan. And we're just not drawing any payoffs. But we will be able to escape Kroxa before too long. well, we would have been able to, but Graveyard Trespasser has come to play. And yeah, it's going to make life miserable. So Kroxa's gone, and we got to deal with it. We got to figure out what to do. So definitely going to cycle Proving Ground end of turn just to try and dig for something relevant. Second Thud. Now, I make a big mistake here. You could see me playing the land. Should not have played the land. I go for like the highest upside play of just playing Harpooner and just hoping to block Trespasser or just hold it off. I think it would be much better to Fame the Blanchwood Prowler, Thud the Trespasser, discard a land to ward, because it just tears apart our graveyard and we cannot survive when that's happening. So, and you could see they had the removal spell for the blocker, they're able to attack, and now we don't even have the option of killing it because our Fame is gone. So it just went horrifically right there. I think I was playing, like I was just really averse to like the card disadvantage that would have taken to deal with Graveyard Trespasser, and now I'm getting punished for it. And so now I'm trying to hopefully set up what I should have done that one turn. Yeah, so we do flip another Fame into the graveyard. However, opponent doesn't cast anything and it flips. So now even have the option of doing that, but we can't do enough damage to it anymore. So it's gone pretty horrifically. And like I said, it was an unintuitive play. It was a very costly play, but I think it was worth it considering what our deck is trying to do. So now they're able to eat up 2 more creatures, and things are just going rapidly downhill. Now, because of how explosive this deck is, like there is a chance if they overextend, we get a big hasty threat and hit them with it, and such as Urborg Lhurgoyf. So we can kick it, and yeah, it's just we put ourselves in a tough position. They have so much going on. What I ultimately decide to do is use Fame on the Lhurgoyf and just hit them in the face with it. And the thinking is that, alright, this is 9 damage. If we draw any of our threats, we can just thud them next turn, as long as we survive. So as it stands, we can block Trespasser, and actually would have been dead anyway, yeah. So that was, yeah, we're not doing good, and we die. And that's the power of Graveyard Trespasser. It messes up our deck, so that is one card we struggle with. Our opponent mulligans, we snap off this keep. Opponent has Gigantha Companion, plays at Plains, Clever Luminancer. So this is an all enabler hand, so we'll have to see if we draw any payoffs. Okay, Lhurgoyf hits the bin. Let's see what. Alright, Mountain. Illuminator Virtuoso. So the opponent is like red-white Spellslinger. Their creatures grow rapidly for every spell they cast, instant sorcery. And so they're going to be hoping to set up like power turns where they cast a bunch and have just massive attackers. Now this is where our sort of all enabler expendable creature hand is going to shine, because we're just merrily filling up our graveyard and have infinite chump blockers for if they try and like soup up their guys really strong. Alright, there's Homestead Courage to start the train, so you can see their creatures starting to grow already. Virtuoso Connives. They send in. Not very threatening yet, but it's going to get worse. Decide just to block some damage here and fill up the graveyard some more. Good, so Kroxa hits the bin, so that's nice to see that there. We're still a red source away from casting it, or sorry, escaping it. Takenuma could be useful. Go ahead and play Blanchwood Prowler. Get another tap land. There is an argument for shocking in a land to play Gnawing Vermin, but I figured I had enough blockers that anyway, their deck is so explosive I didn't want to take any more damage than necessary. Now I do a fill the graveyard up a lot block. Could have blocked with Vermin to sort of force their hand and make them use a spell so that it didn't kill their Virtuoso. That might have been better there, but I was just going for the graveyard filling plan. Still not feeling like we're in a lot of danger. Gird for battle. But I do think it would have been better to sort of force their hand. It would have punched through more damage on us though, so... Alright, so we're facing a bunch of huge double strikers. And now we finally got one of our payoffs, Fiend Artisan. Now we can follow up with Gnawing Vermin. And you would think a now... What is it going to be? Yeah, a now 13/13 Fiend Artisan would be able to hold them back. Problem is they got double strikers that can just keep on growing. So there's Homestead Courage. Notably also grants Vigilance. So they're gonna have like a free attack basically. Gird for battle, so their double strikers are just getting massive, but we have so many expendable blockers, and it appears they don't have trample set up, any enablers in their deck, so yeah, I mean, we're just going to keep throwing expendable creatures under the bus, but that's just going to juice up our threats as well. Alright, it's all coming together. So there's a Thud. Fiend Artisan alone with the Fame is really close. That's 16 damage to their face. But it's not quite enough. So go ahead and opt to escape Kroxa here, and just, you know, we get to take the card from their hand. We weren't quite ready for the kill yet, and we take God's Willing, which is huge. That could have been a big problem for us. Fortunately, we're sort of diverse enough with our colors that they weren't able to just directly kill us, but feels nice to get that out of their hand. Homestead Courage, exceptionally strong in their deck. 2 spells and 1 card. Defiant Strike. So opponent has these just massive double strikers, but they can't get through our infinite army of 1/1s. And Kraul Harpooner gives us the win right here. So I had to math it out for a second, but Kraul Harpooner is going to enter, get its Undergrowth trigger, and temporarily become 15 power. We can then use Fame to boost it up to 17 power. So we Fame it, now it's 17 power. We throw the Harpooner at them for 17 damage, and since they're empty-handed, Kroxa's attack trigger is going to automatically ding them for 3. So we just simply attack with Kroxa, and we win. That felt good. Now we go to the next one. Alright, green-black land from the opponent. We'll play the same Gnawing Vermin, start the train, see if we can fill up the graveyard. And we got 1 so far. Very happy to see Bloodchief's Thirst on our very expendable creature rather than the ones we actually care about. Not only that, but it enables our plan also. So decide just to run out a Lhurgoyf here because we can kick the turn 3 Lhurgoyf and juice up the one we already have in play, potentially dealing a lot more damage. So that was the rationale there. There was a few different things you can do. Alright, just 1 more creature, but we have 2 3/4s in play, turn 3. Feels pretty good, and Stitcher Supplier in hand. Shadow Prophecy from the opponent, digging for something. Binding of the Old Gods. That's good from them, but it powers up the one we still have in play, and it's hard to see right now, but we actually have a win right here. Depends on the Stitcher Supplier, I think, a little bit, but yeah, we can spike 2 creatures off that, so we can attack for 6, and then slam Harpooner as a temporary 9 power creature and just fling them, thud them. So that was pretty nice. Clean turn 4 kill right there. Now my audio started degrading into this match. I don't know why it keeps happening to me, but that's why we have that eerie silence all of a sudden. Nevertheless, this is still a fun one, so we kept it in. Gnawing Vermin opens for us. Don't mill any creatures, unfortunately. We get whammied with Thoughtseize. Yeah, they take Urborg Lhurgoyf. And so now our hand doesn't really do a lot. Gnawing Vermin. Still not milling any creatures, so just ding them for 1 right here. Pretty, that was a well-used Thoughtseize from them. Waste Not. So it all makes sense now. So this is a Waste Not turbo discard deck. So we have to be very careful. So goal number 1 is to empty our hand as fast as possible to make it harder for them to force us to discard. But we're able to chip in some damage here with our little creatures. Kazuul's Fury is most likely going to be played as a land just to get, like I said, to empty our hand. Liliana the Veil. It's very, very good in their deck. So they're going to break the symmetry of Liliana's plus by getting some bonus off Waste Not. So we pitch a non-land and gets them a card. And try and decide which one to play. Opt to play the land, and going to use Fame here to ensure that we kill Liliana. Liliana just seems like a huge problem if we let her live at all. So that gives us a little extra combat maneuverability to take her down. Okay, so opponent passes to us. Fiend Artisan, that is really nice. So go ahead and attack first, and boy are we glad we did, because they're just trying to get to the extreme long game where they can take over with Waste Not. So they fire off 2 fatal pushes on our 1/1s. So we are exceptionally happy to see that, because that means Fiend Artisan most likely is in the clear. And we didn't care about those creatures anyway, and they powered up Fiend Artisan. So I was thinking about holding on to Kazuul's Fury. You could see him almost click and turn, but that's just bad idea against Waste Not. We want to empty the hand and make it horrible for them. However, they have Gyreach Sanitarium, so they'll be able to make us discard anyway. But they fire off an Invoke Despair. Luckily, we have an expendable creature, which is going to juice up Fiend Artisan even more. And yeah, Blanchwood Prowler, not the worst draw. Could get us a land for Castle Locthwain. No, just a... Oh, he does get us land, yeah. And we're not under a lot of pressure for them, so that land is actually pretty clutch right here. But decide just to fire off Fame and just really assault their life total right here. Like, just put them in a precarious position. Like, now that they're down to 3, there's a lot of crazy ways we can kill them from nowhere. So let's see what the opponent can do about this. And they have basically the perfect card for the situation. Go blank. Nukes our whole graveyard. And now Fiend Artisan's a 2-mana 1/1. And for good measure, the Gyreach gives them a 2/2 zombie. So what I do here is fire up Castle Locthwain. Don't care about the life loss. And we see Claim. That'll be good later. Go ahead and throw Satyr Wayfinder onto the board. Just hoping to make our Fiend Artisan outgrow their zombie, which way our deck is structured is almost guaranteed off of Satyr Wayfinder. So we're able to attack them with both. They're forced to chump the 5/5. We chip them down to 2. And they're going to need a Wrath or something. We're threatening so many things. Decide just to sort of YOLO and go for it. Like the Kroxa reanimation is sort of an aggro play, but ends up paying off. They're forced or choose to discard a land, and they're dead. Alright, so that's Jund Grave Thud. And yeah, we went 4-1, did pretty well, and it seems like it has a lot of play against different decks. We'll have to see how it fares against Control and some other strategies, but I just love how this deck plays. Like, you just sort of whammy people out of nowhere with these massive creatures, and Stonewall's a lot of strategies with our expendable blockers. There is something to be said about increasing the threat density a little bit, but what I like about it is Claim sort of does that for us. Like, if we can mill a Fiend Artisan or Urborg Lhurgoyf, Claim can sort of function as 4 more copies of them. So it's just a super fun deck. And yeah, let me know in the comments what are your favorite graveyard strategies. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.